Good morning, guys, and welcome to another edition of our weekly segment Las Guerreras here in Latina. I'm Jamili Habib, and I'm the senior editor in Latina. And this segment is a open conversation with badass Latinas, guerreras, how we call them, that are opening paths and breaking the glass ceiling, trying to find another seat at the table for us and for everyone. We've talked to authors, critics, health experts, advocates, and today we're honored to speak with Natalie Reyes. Natalie Reyes is the president and CEO of the Latino Victory Project. She's a fellow Venezuelan, una venezolana como yo. She's also from Arab heritage. She's from Lebanese heritage. I'm from Syrian heritage. So I'm really, really excited to talk to another Latina who has a similar experience. But not only that, Natalie's story is amazing. She's been in everything from sociology to public policy, but I want her to tell her own story. We're having a really interesting conversation today, and I'm hoping you guys will jump in and ask questions, because these conversations are the ones that allow us to find a seat at the table and change our future for the best. So I'm gonna invite Natalie right now, and let's see how it goes. Oh, I would love to know how this works. Wait, let's ask Natalie to jump in. She should be joining us shortly.
Are we here? I can't believe it. You know what? Where there's a will, there's a way. And when Latinas are doing it, regardless, tropical storm, earthquakes, whatever comes our way, we're going to make it work. Jamili, ¿cómo estás?
Bien, ¿y tú?
Mira, chica, perdón que esto no fue fácil, pero yo dije, no voy a cancelar y lo vamos a hacer. Y yo que siempre estoy a tiempo y más temprano que nunca, but here we are. So, listen, ¿tú eres libanesa?
Yo soy siria.
Tú eres, bueno, entonces tú eres hermana mía, no solamente la parte latina, sino la parte libanesa, from the Levant area. I said, are you kidding me? We must be related.
I'm sure we are. Actually, when I read your bio that said that you come from a small town in Venezuela, ¿de dónde vienes tú en Venezuela?
Mira, yo vengo de un pueblo que se llama Anaco, estado Anzoátegui.
Sí, somos familia.
Seguro que somos familia.
Mi familia viene del Tigre.
Oh my God, dile a tu papá y a tu mamá, tú sabes, nosotros, mi tía era dueña de La Sultana.
There you go. Yes.
Y mi papá era el dueño de Casa Freddy. Mi papá es Freddy.
Nosotros somos Habib, el apellido. Y en el Tigre, la mitad del pueblo eran Habib.
Yo sé.
Y estábamos en Anaco, y en Puerto Ordaz, y en Puerto La Cruz, y luego se mudaron a Mérida a estudiar.
Hermana, se me empeluca el cuerpo, porque la verdad es que nosotros venezolanos estábamos por todo el mundo hoy en día, ¿verdad? Y también los libaneses y los sirianos por toda Latinoamérica. Así que...
Actually, I was super excited to talk to you. This has been serendipitous because I talked to my managing editor, Giselle, who is amazing. And I told her, you know what? There's another Arab Venezuelan out there. I'm not the only one. There's someone out there, and I think we should talk to her. And here we are.
And here we are. Here we are. So I'm delighted. Thanks for taking the time. And again, sorry for the technical difficulties, but it's always hard in a hotel room in New York City. But here we are.
I'm so grateful you're taking time to talk to us. I didn't want to tell your whole story in the brief intro that we made because I want you to tell us your story. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Oh my God, that's so nice. So, you know, as I mentioned, I'm from a small town. I was born and raised in Anaco, Venezuela. My parents immigrated in 1984 to Los Angeles. Imagínate, they from Anaco, Venezuela, a small little town where, you know, we didn't even have an elevator. To a cosmopolitan town like Los Angeles, a cosmopolitan city like Los Angeles, and it was surreal. And I spoke no English. I was in 5th grade. I had to learn the ABCs from scratch. But you know, it is that immigrant personality and drive that pushes all forward. And so, you know, I quickly learned English. I learned to be part of this amazing fabric of American society and be my all. And so I quickly went to UCLA for undergrad and graduate. My parents had only a 10th grade education. My mother and my father had a high school education. So for them, education was the most important thing that you could do. They're like, you know, we don't care what you do or what you study, but as long as you have a college degree. And they worked their whole entire lives to give that to us. And so I found myself going to UCLA. I found myself in the public sector, in government. I was, my first job was in the field office of Mike Fuhr, who's now the city attorney in Los Angeles, but then he was a city council member. And I was where the rubber hits the road, ¿verdad? En que, hey, there's a pothole down the street. Can you fix it? Or, you know, this, you know, there's an issue with one of the streets. Can you help me? And so I got to see the importance of government and how government can help the daily lives of individuals, you know, from a good, healthy school system to a good healthcare system to just a simple thing of like picking the trash and making sure that the roads are safe to travel on. And that's where I found my passion of helping people. And even the Anaco, you know, from my small town in Anaco, like in this small community, like it was all about helping each other. When we all,
most people don't realize, I'm sorry, most people don't realize that those small things are actually way more important than the big things that you see on screens. Actually, fixing a broken window can help your community feel better in many different ways, and people often don't see that.
Absolutely, absolutely. And that's what we need to continue doing now, even like with big government, right? How, you know, the federal government can help on a daily basis your lives. So fast forward, I became deputy chief of staff to the mayor of Los Angeles. Imagínate, an immigrant from Venezuela. That's why, you know, in America, every dream can come true. I go from a small town of Anaco to running the second largest city in the country. Absolutely. At 26. It was the youngest in the history of Los Angeles. And, you know, it was an amazing opportunity. I ran intergovernmental relations for the mayor. I did all his international trade and protocol issues. And interface it with federal, state, and local government. And so for me, that was a dream job where, and I created the first office of immigrant affairs. As an immigrant, I was able to do that for other immigrants in the second largest city. It was an amazing experience. And
as a Latina, how did you feel in that environment? I mean, I'm sure there were obstacles, but also what were the benefits of being a Latina in that field?
Well, you know, I've walked the walk and I've experienced the experience. And so I was true to myself. And so being able to bring my lived experience to the role was critically important. I mean, you know, learning the language, trying to be part of the American fabric, all of that takes time. If somebody can help you through it, how much better we would all be as a community. Not only the immigrants that are coming into the country, but also the rest of the folks that are here already, so that we can all thrive and grow together. So for me, it was surreal because when I came to this country, we really didn't have that fabric of help. or that support, we had to make it on our own. And it was, other immigrant communities that were able to help us. But this was the institution of the city of Los Angeles trying to help you with this complexity of the system. So it was very empowering. It was very empowering to do that for my community and for all other communities across the Los Angeles area.
And fast forward, what do you do right now?
So fast forward, between that, I went into from the public sector, I went to the private sector because, of course, like I want to nibble a little bit in the private sector. And so I worked for Grupo Salinas, which is an international conglomerate based in Mexico. And I ran the philanthropic part of that work, ensuring that I, helped again the community through philanthropy. And that was very rewarding. We created Aspen Institute Mexico. We created Aspen Institute in the United States, Latinos in Society, to really, talk about issues of relevance to the community, from immigration reform to healthcare system to the disparities of what's happening with marginalized communities. So that was incredible. But, last year during the pandemic, as, so much was happening, and obviously there was a major election. I don't know if you realize that we had a president that was not very kind and did not push the policies that would benefit all of America. And so, I and a lot of people had to say to themselves, how can we do more? And how can we step up? Not only for ourselves and our children, I have 2 boys, but for the rest of the communities. And so I was on the board of Latino Victory, which was an incredible experience. And so I decided to not sit on the sidelines in this past election cycle, and jump in fully and completely, and became president and CEO of Latino Victory. And it's been one of the most rewarding experiences. The good thing about my trajectory, I can't say I've not had a rewarding experience, because really, I think at the end of the day, you do the best that you can with what you're working on. And so, but this has been transformational in the way that Latino Victory, what we do is we try to ensure the representations of Latinos at every table of power. And so we are 18% of the population, and growing, and yet 1% of the political power in this country. And that's just not a representative democracy. And that's what this country was created, right? We have to represent. And so for us at Latino Victory, we want to make sure that we have Latinos at every decision-making table across the country, at the local, at the state, and at the federal level. And so we're very intentional about that leadership. The leadership is there, the capacity is there, the talent is unbelievable. As I sit down with candidates across the country, you get goosebumps, and so much talent, and how people want to change the world. And guess what? We're changing the world together. And so obviously I jumped in, and we saw incredible wins in this past election with Joe Biden and Kamala Harris at the top of the ticket, winning big with the Latino vote. We were the margin of victory in battleground states. We came and overperformed at 60 to 70% for Joe Biden, for Kamala Harris. And so it is that energy that will propel us forward as a community, is that energy and saying, this is our country, and these are the types of policies and people that we want to see at decision-making tables. So that's what I'm doing now, just a little bit. You're doing nothing.
No, you're just wow. That's why we call this Las Guerreras, because you're doing so many things. I mean, I think that in a span of 3 minutes, you said you were a mom, you're working in the public sector, you're doing a bunch of things.
And I'm a wife too, and that's the hardest job, let me tell you.
Yeah, that's like being mom, but twice.
Exactly, times 3.
Now, I'm kind of worried about something. I know I work as a political reporter during the 4 years of the previous administration, and now I'm perceiving sort of a change with the Latino vote. And I know the Latino Victory Project is focused on the mobilization of the Latino vote, but right now we're perceiving the Latino vote as a swing vote. Something that people before didn't understand about us is that you cannot just grasp the Latino community and try to understand it as a whole, because we're not a monolith. What can we do to really explain that diversity and explain to people that just because you're Latino, you're not going to lean towards just one side because you have a myriad of needs. How can we explain that?
Right. I think that you're absolutely right. We indeed are not a monolith. El venezolano and Miami is completely different than the Mexican in Southern California, than the Puerto Ricans in New York, than the Dominicans in New York. So absolutely. And I think that the Democratic Party is doing a good job on ensuring that we're talking to voters, Latino voters, always, constantly. It cannot be a week before the election saying, hey, can you vote for us? Latinos are persuasion voters. You have to give us a reason to vote. You have to mobilize us by ensuring that you are engaging with us year round, all the time. This is what we're doing to help you on a daily basis. We're ensuring that we have a healthy economy, that you have a good paying job, that your kids are going to a safe and good school system, that that we're battling climate change. This is what we got to do as a party, as when we're talking to voters, when we're.
Wait, I think we lost your audio. There you go.
Okay. So we have to give Latinos a reason to vote. And indeed, we're not a monolith, and same thing as it relates to Republican Latinos versus Democratic Latinos. Like, we are majority, but we are majority Democratic. I mean, we are leaning 60-70% Democratic, which is, but we've always had that 30% Republican, just like all communities.
And I think the difference is that in the Latino household, we are often used to having political differences.
Yeah.
I mean, back in Venezuela, it happened. We always had that one chavista that was sitting at the table, and
exactly.
We are open to that conversation. That's what people don't understand. We need a reason to go and vote. That's all we need.
Absolutely. And we have to reach voters and Latino voters in a culturally competent ways.
Yeah.
And so, like we were talking about, like the Venezuelan in Miami is very different than the Dominican in New York. And so we have to reach voters where they're at, and we have to persuade them to vote and giving them a reason. So, and the candidates matter, and so we have to make sure that we have good candidates on the ballot. So our theory of change at Latino Victory is that when Latinos are on the ballot, Latinos like you and I and others that are, putting themselves out there, ensuring that they're driving the right policies, they are driving culturally competent campaigns, ensuring that people like you and I are going out to vote. And so for us, we want to see more Latinos running. That's what's going to drive our country forward. That's going to elevate our political power. And that's what is going to ensure other Latinos coming to vote and running for positions from, local government to state to federal.
Let's imagine then a bunch of Latinos running for office. How can those Latinos change the American political landscape?
Yeah.
I'm not saying that I don't have a few ideas, but I want your input on it.
Well, interesting. I think that, last cycle, we endorsed around 86 candidates, all superb from the state, federal, local, all over, including the top of the key ticket, including Joe Biden. Before Joe Biden went to endorse Julian Castro for president. Obviously a very incredible leader, who maybe in the future will be a great president. And so, look, that's how you change it. Imagining having a Latino president. When we think about local government and having mayors that are Latinos, in the school boards, having school board members that are Latino, you asked me initially, like, how did you feel about that? And what do you bring to the table when you are in that leadership capacity? I bring my lived experience. I bring all other Latinos with me to that table. I want to make sure that those policies are reflective of what is important to my community. And so it's a trickling effect from, and I don't want to say that the presidency is more important than the school board. And guess what? For parents, that school board member is critically important because the future of their children's education lies on that school board member's hand. So it is that catalyst of change, ensuring that we have that leadership at the table that will bring our lived experiences and that will create impactful change in everything that we touch. And so that's what I look forward to, and that's what I see when I sit down at tables of power and I see Latinos bringing their lived experience, bringing their community to the table, and ensuring that policies are reflecting and are ensuring that we are moving that community forward together.
And as that's something that I repeat like a mantra in my life. My life, everything is politics. The philosopher, everything in life is politics.
And everybody's a politician, it feels.
Yeah. And in every single sphere of your life, even what I do for a living, it's a matter of politics, of personal politics. But now the second part of my worry in this next phase of the American politics is how can we keep Latinos engaged and understanding politics? Because I'm afraid that after, once we were through with the previous period of politics, do you think that Latinos felt like a little bit relief? Okay, so the worst just happened, let's just move on to another thing. Or do you see Latinos more engaged in politics now?
Look, I think that we need to keep the drumbeat going because the worst is not behind us.
Yeah.
And so I want like, we don't get time to celebrate our victories, which is unfortunate because it's always like we're always running to ensure that we're engaging, that we keep winning these races because the threat is real. And so it is up to us and up to elected officials to ensure that we are pushing policies that make sense forward. I think this past week with the infrastructure bill, that's a great thing for Latino voters to galvanize around. I mean, these are good paying jobs for our community. And obviously Build Back Better, which the president is pushing forward this week, that will create, that systematic change that we'll see, in things that we touch. Like you said, like politics is real and it touches all our spheres. So I think that there's two tracks here. I think that we have to deliver on the promises that we made to the American people in 2020,
yep.
On moving the economy forward with good paying jobs, moving beyond this COVID. COVID has been horrible for everybody, but especially for the Latino community. And so we got to get through this economic crisis, this pandemic. But the pandemic that's looming behind us is, the possibility of 2022 and 2024. And so we need to continue galvanizing voters. We need to keep galvanizing our community to vote, to be active. And there's an election happening todos los días. So every day
just to explain, 2022, in case guys don't understand, 2022 midterm elections, 2024 presidential elections. You have to keep that in mind.
That's right, absolutely. And there's elections happening even off years. Last month we had Virginia. Actually, it's just this month. It's time, it just keeps moving. Yeah, se parece, pero la verdad es que, so we have to continue engaging. And part of our responsibility of being in this country is that elections matter. And you can win by 1 or 2 votes. And unlike in Latin America, where we come from, where, elections, they're mandatory, but sometimes your vote counts and sometimes it doesn't,
It doesn't.
Here it does matter. Here it does count. Your vote is significant. Your vote is important. Elections are won by 1 or 2 votes. I mean, the percentage now is crazy. Yep. So I want to say to folks, unfortunately, if the line is long, or, if you've not registered to vote, like, you've got to register to vote. You've got to vote early. You've got to be engaged. This is our community. This is our country. And what happens in this country has trickling effects in our countries of origin, in my dear Venezuela, and in all throughout the hemisphere. So I just want to ensure that folks, and it takes people like you and I too, to say how important it is to be part of this civic fabric of our country, because see, if we're not, then it stops being our country. And guess what?
Yeah.
We have to make sure that we're counted and that we're seen, and that's through your votes.
That's usually what I repeat to my friends abroad or anywhere they may be. It's especially Latinas and women. I mean, we are standing on the shoulders of women that gave their life for a right to vote, and you just cannot just go away because it's hot or because you don't have enough water or whatever. But and I know you're really busy, so I have a final question for you. What is your recommendation for Latinas who want to throw their hat in the ring and run for office?
Well, just do it, like Michael Jordan would say. Just do it. So I think that, look, it's hard to run for office. I don't want to, take that for granted. It's a team effort. It's a family affair. And so even like when I took this job, which is obviously not running for office, but running many different campaigns, I had a conversation with my loved ones, because again, it takes a lot out of you. It's constant, is you're always on, because it's not only about you, it's about the community you're representing. And so it's a big responsibility. So I would sit down with my loved ones, with your significant other, your children. Your children are going to be part of the equation as well. And talk about the importance of you running, and try and get their support, because if you have their support, then you're halfway there. And then talk to organizations like ours. There's not only us, but there's Emily's List, there's Planned Parenthood, there's so many different groups, and create that coalition, that network of folks that that believe in your mission, that believe in your policy, that believe in you as a candidate, and start running. I think that the only way to do it is by doing it, and creating that infrastructure around you, and not giving up. You might not win the first time, but you fail forward, and you learn, and it's tough to lose. But I think that ensuring that you have a platform and that you're moving policies forward in a culturally competent way, then you're doing it. So that's what I would say. I would say just do it, and talk to folks, and build that coalition around you.
Amazing. You'd be surprised how many of my friends are considering. We have this conversation over beers, and I said, well, yeah, okay. So I said, I have to ask the question. What do they have? What do they need? I'm so grateful for you taking your time to talk to us. Really, I know you must be super busy.
I'm so grateful to talk to you, and let's do this again. And
yes, please.
We'll do it over una cerveza y una arepa. How about that next time?
Señora. Sí, señora.
Okay, bueno, un placer.
It's been a pleasure, Natalie.
Same.
Keep in touch.
Oh, absolutely. You be well. Bye-bye.